talk to. We wanna welcome you to SAZETU. This show's alive because of SAZETU.
SAZETU is brought to you by Maine Spirits. Learn more about the delicious spirits they import into the great state of Maine and the cocktails you can make with them at mainspirits.com or by downloading their app for your smartphone or visiting them on Instagram at Maine_spirits. Promotional consideration by State Theatre Portland. Visit statetheatreportland.com for an up-to-date schedule of virtual events and upcoming announcements as we get closer to normalcy. And Sun Tiki Studios, a top-notch rehearsal and performance facility located on Forest Avenue in Portland, Maine. Learn more at suntikistudios.com.
Welcome to the show and welcome to Happy Hour, brought to you by Maine Spirits. On this program, I endeavor to show you how to make delicious drinks at home, and this week is no exception. We're going to switch it up, though, because for the next few weeks, I'm going to be showing you how to make drinks with delicious, fresh herbs and vegetables from your own garden or the farmer's market, wherever you get your delicious local vegetables and herbs. As always, there are accompanying videos for these segments on the Maine Spirits YouTube page. You should go check that out. But for the time being, I will show you how to make a cucumber gin sour. So, you're going to want to take a shaker and not fill it full of ice, but maybe about halfway. Now take a fresh cucumber. Go ahead and, if it's huge, use a third of it. If it's a regular size, you can use all of it, most of it. And chop it up into chunks. Doesn't have to be pretty, but just small enough to break down with the muddler. Now, in that shaker with some ice, add the following: 1 ounce of simple syrup and 1 ounce of lime juice, aka sour mix. Now take your muddler and be aggressive here and really start to work the cucumber. Break it apart. It'll be a little tough for a second, and then it will give, and then make sure you're smashing up all the cucumber and getting all that delicious cucumber flavor throughout the beverage. Now, add 2 ounces of gin, cover it, and shake thoroughly, and make sure it's mixed until very, very cold. And now, take a strainer, maybe a double strainer, and strain that into a rocks glass full of ice and garnish it with the cucumber. Let's take a sip. You can make delicious drinks like this at home all day. Go shopping in your garden. Try some things out. Take chances, people. This has been Happy Hour, brought to you by Maine Spirits. You can learn more about this drink and many other drinks at mainspirits.com. You can download their app for your smartphone, which is a smart move. What to buy, where to buy it, and what to do with it once you get it. And you can also follow them on Instagram at Maine_spirits. But regardless of all this malarkey, we encourage you to drink deliciously and responsibly.
My eyebrows come together in the most unappealing way.
And my hairline can't be helping either. Hello.
And goodbye.
Cocktail hour. Welcome. We're in person today.
We're here together.
Cheers.
Cheers. Doing it.
Always a pleasure. I mean, you and I spend a lot of time together, not doing this and doing this,
Yes.
not together. But the time we spend together is mostly rocking.
That's right. The only thing is now, if we continue along this format that I believe we're going to try, is that I need to be careful about things that I just talk to you about. Because we could hit upon subjects and I'll be like, why did I bring that up now? I should have saved it for while we're recording the program.
Yeah. We both work out our demons already and go on our rants. I had a conversation with our good friend John Wyman, who is also a listener, and I brought up, we were talking about the Ghostbusters trailer. Mm-hmm. I was like, and this. And he's like, yeah, I listened to the show. I was like, fuck, I have to come up with a whole different conversation.
He's like, I already knew your entire thoughts on this before talking to you about it.
Yeah, but I didn't get his. Yeah. How can we make podcasts interactive? I mean, that's a slippery slope.
Yes, it is. I think we keep it to inviting one guest at a time.
Guests, that's what it is. The whole point is that we can sit here and just say what we want, not have to sift through the barrage of horse shit from other people. Yeah. Disinterested, start your own podcast. Oh, by the way, you can literally start your own podcast immediately. So easy.
And he just gave you a free title, Disinterested. Here's a list of things we're not interested in at all.
Yeah. Yeah, in trying, in kicking the tires on rebranding the show, and I found this to be true, too, when occasionally we... we'll take a subject that we're like Jay Leno sucks. Yeah. And he does, and I believe that. I stand by that. But it's amazing that you and I can consistently put out there what we like. Mm-hmm. We're trying to put out the good vibes and be positive. But the second we're like, this sucks, people are like, yeah, fuck that guy. It sucks.
But like, there was also people like defending him too.
Who defended him?
There was a couple comments on the Facebook that were like, oh yeah, kick a guy because he tries so hard, Oh
my God.
When a man wants something, he goes out and gets it. What are you guys doing?
I don't know, getting vaccinated? Yeah, exactly. What are you up to?
When a man wants something like, oh, I don't know, a vaccine.
He goes out and gets it. Yeah. Can we make Jay Leno the official face of the anti-vaxxer? Yeah. Can he be their spokesperson? Do what you want.
As long as I can drive around in this coffee cup that I turned into a car.
Coffee. Or no, he would have like the first motorized bicycle. Like one of those ones with the big wheel in the front. The small motor on the back. A one-lunger. Have you ever seen a one-lung engine? Sorry, I had a snot thing there for a second. A one-lung engine. Have you ever seen that?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so if you're driving a modern car, it is 4 cylinders, usually minimum. It usually comes in pairs. Mm-hmm. A lot of your lawnmowers and smaller engine stuff are 2. Chainsaws, that's 2. So you have... When gas enters the engine, there's a spark plug, right? And a piston, and the timing is set up such that when the piston comes up, I wish you could see my hands right now because it's really tying it together, but the piston comes up and it compresses the gas, and then the spark plug goes off, and it creates an explosion, and it sends that piston down, which then turns the, I think it's the camshaft, but it turns like an axle, right?
And that explosion is where the name internal combustion comes from?
There it is. So it would make sense if you had one firing, you would then, when the other one came back up, you'd have 2. So it would be like bang, 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 rather than bang to bang, which is what a one-lunger is.
Ah, okay.
And I've seen one in operation, or maybe 2 actually, like one of like a state fair had one going. It's like one of the most awkward things that man ever made. It vibrates, it moves it moves like a giant piece of steel that has an explosion in it once, and then waits for it to go around, and then again, and then again, and again. So yeah, one-lunger.
I learned something
apparently
every podcast.
Apparently we're talking about that today. So we're in reformatting or discussing reformatting, and if you've been listening this whole time, thank you for letting us take that public. But I'm still on the side of wanting to do something positive. Mm-hmm. Though I do reserve the right to flip my shit if I feel like it. And likewise you, right? Although you flipping your shit is much decidedly more smooth than me.
It's usually reserved to when I'm playing video games.
Yes. Or silence. That's when I know. Zach goes dark. It's like, ooh, he's furious.
What's going on in that brain?
He's white hot.
Is that steam coming out of his ears?
You're right. So we've been searching. We'll come up with ideas. We still meet about this, not on the show, and we'll kick ideas back and forth, and we'll search them on podcast platforms to see what exists. We've had a lot of good titles thwarted by existing podcasts that haven't been on for a minute, or it's very clearly like Diane's show, because we wanted to call our show Diane's show. It's like, fuck,
Like, even that exists.
God damn it, Diane. Take it seriously, Diane. Respect, but like, are you going to do another episode? Can we have the name? But I was searching. Was it this morning? I think I texted you, or yesterday. This week's show is available, and then when we got together today, it's like this week's program.
Exactly. Classy. Old school. Program.
Today's program, folks. Yeah. I like that.
I like that as well.
So let's chew on that. But I'm betting that when we finally do this rebrand, which won't be for a minute because you are about to go on a journey, my friend.
I am. I'm about to check on the state of America from East Coast to West Coast. Initially, this trip I was about to take was I'm going to start shuttling my stuff back to LA so I can jumpstart my life out there again. Yeah. But obviously,
if people haven't been listening, Zach
yeah.
from here, Zach and I from the same hometown, then Portland-based musicians, and then Zach relocated to a decade ago.
Almost a decade, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple years, or 1 year shy of a decade if you count our last year.
Yeah, I'll count that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've been out there for many years and, making a name for yourself and making your own way and all that. And then moved home during the pandemic. I think I've told you this, but everyone remembers where they were if you were alive, when Kennedy was shot, when the Challenger exploded, when 9/11, the moment I knew that the pandemic was real was when you called and were like, should I come home? Like, yes, you should come home.
I was like, great, I'll see you tomorrow. Or I won't see you tomorrow, but I'll be 40 miles away from you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll talk to you on the phone for a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you are considering, or not considering, but trying to figure out when and how to move back to LA.
Yeah, I mean, now, you and I have musical commitments through the fall and even, I think, slightly into the new year or almost about.
Yeah.
So I had already sort of resigned myself to the fact that, like, okay, I won't be, like, in LA to, like, full time again until probably early next year. But I was like, I can at least, start coming and going. Like, people have been texting me about gigs and some work opportunities that are opening up again, and I have to keep being like, no, I'm still on the East Coast, can't do it. But I just want to be like, I still exist and I am coming back. But I figured it'd be good to at least get some stuff back out there. So if I go back and forth a couple times in the fall, I'll have some guitars there, or in a place to sleep, maybe some bedding. So that's kind of what this trip was supposed to be. When the opportunity, my friend Jenny, who helped me move back last year,
Jenny Ritchie,
yeah,
who is before times the house photographer at Largo.
Yes, in LA. Yep, great classic venue that hosts incredible shows.
Well, that's what I mean. That's where Conan did his show through the pandemic.
Yeah. Yep, totally.
Yeah, and they just he stopped and they just reopened. And I've been wondering because I've been seeing the photos again, the kind of classic hallway photo.
Yeah,
I didn't know if that was her.
She has been back on the East Coast for the past couple months, I think.
Right. So
because she hit me up when she first got back, and that was when the future was looking super bright.
Right.
And she was like, "If you want to come with me when I'm going back," and I was like, "Great, count me in."
California,
like, I'll bring all my stuff. Yeah. And then now all of a sudden it's like, well, I guess I'll just go visit, but I probably won't bring anything because people are being stupid and the disease isn't going away. The virus isn't going away. Sorry. And yeah, I don't know. I just didn't want to get stuff out there and then be like, okay, now I got to go back out there to get it again because it could be another year. I don't think that's going to be that long. I don't want to be like pessimistic about it, but I figure if 2 months from now, it's like, okay, things are opening up again, like everybody's getting vaccinated and everything's working. Well, I'll figure out how to get my stuff out there then.
I mean, there's a difference between pessimism and realism.
Yeah.
And I think you're being realistic about it, honestly. I mean, I love having you around, you know, and I've also like we've discussed this off camera, so to speak. But you know, I'm happy. It's in a way. I mean, sure, it's easier if you can just drive up from York, you know, to play here in Portland. That's about a 45-minute drive if you're not from here. But like, if you're in LA, it's just a matter of booking. It's just all booking and time and travel and all that stuff. So,
which I generally don't mind doing. Like, I generally find travel exciting.
well, yeah,
You know,
that's why we toured for years.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, now it's like, oh, I don't know. I'm scared. Do I need to wear 4 masks when I go out? Even though I've already had 2 shots?
Just a bag over your head, like somebody being led to their execution on death row.
At least they let you cut eye holes in the bag, though, for this.
Oh, they do? Yeah, you don't want that.
I don't know. Actually, maybe they don't.
I don't know.
Cut eye holes, but put the thick plexiglass.
Wait, don't they do?
over it.
Oh, firing squad. That's where they
Yeah.
put you out there. They give you the cigarette and they take it out of your mouth. They put the bag over your head and then somebody shoots you.
Or also the gallows in the Old West.
Oh my God. Human beings are remarkably cruel to each other.
Yeah, we sure are.
Oh my God. But then again, what do you do with somebody who just can't stop killing? Like, you don't get to be a person no more on account of you just can't stop killing.
Yeah, you shot up the saloon, you robbed the bank, you got away, and you came back and you did it again.
Did it again.
3 times. So now we're just going to put this bag over your head and see you later.
The McKenzie brothers, rotten to the core. We don't even want to afford to feed them cornflakes to keep them alive. They ain't worth it. They'll just kill again.
We only got but 1 jail cell.
That's right, Andy Griffith. Well, I mean, whatever you decide to do, like, you know, when you move back to, you're gonna move back to LA at some point, and you're gonna like reestablish your life there at some point. But it's just when.
Exactly.
You know? And I think the when is when it's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, even when I initially came back here, too, the news was saying 2 weeks to stop the spread. Mm-hmm. But I was like, what if it's 2 months? Mm-hmm. I would rather be in Maine for that. Turns out it was more than 2 months, and I'm still here. And so that was a good decision coming back here.
When this hit, and I try not to be pessimistic about it as well, but I do try to engage in realism because we've got shows to book. We've got schedules. You don't want to plan on something, and just be like, oh, it's gonna be fine, and then end up like with your hand in your ass in your hand. Wow.
Either way, it's not good.
Either way, that's a difficult proposition.
It makes it uncomfortable to sit down.
It takes a lot of courage. But I just knew in my heart that it was going to be a year and a half. I just knew it. And I was talking with our friend Ian at Sun Tiki, and because that's a venue, they're a sponsor. You know what they are. You listen to the top of the show. You don't skip the ads, right, folks? But yeah, he didn't want to hear that from me. He's like, man, when you told me that, I was like, oh man, I hope he's not right. He was right. I just knew it.
That's a situation where you don't want to be like, I told you so. You want to be like, I'm so happy I was wrong.
I would love to have been wrong. Yeah. Look at me. My intuition's way off.
Thank goodness.
Because I just didn't see... This whole thing would be hard enough to deal with if it was just the virus and a huge group of people who were on the same team. Mm-hmm. Like everyone's like, yes, let's do this together. Which
is the way that historically, I believe this country has handled national disasters.
Yeah, yes, but did it? But was it also like, I mean, we also learned that the folks came over on the Mayflower. The Native Americans were like, here's some turkey, and they're like, oh, let's get together and some blankets and stuff. And they had a nice meal, and everything was fine.
Or at least that's the way they taught us in school.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So like. Was polio handled like this? Like, what if there was Instagram during polio?
Yeah.
Where would we be?
Probably in the same spot.
Yeah.
Yep. But instead we had, a spoonful of sugar helps medicine go down, and people got in line and got their sugar cubes with polio vaccine on it. Mm-hmm.
Dude, how can we administer the vaccine orally wrapped in poisonous bullshit that's way more dangerous than the vaccine? How can we get the vaccine into Mountain Dew?
There you go. I was going to say Budweiser, but
Red
Mountain
Bull.
Dew works.
Like Red Bull. What else sucks? Like Diet Pepsi. That's not made of any food. Diet Pepsi's not made of anything that's grown from the earth at all. It's a food. Can you imagine if I said to you, here is a block of food. What's that made of? All chemicals. And you're like, nom, 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 nom. But you're not. Like, you're like, you want like the good beef. You want chicken that's like not like injected with like WWE growth hormones. So it makes it look like gross stuff, you know? But like, you know, people are out there like drinking Mountain. And don't get me wrong. Like, I will get my freak on with a bag of like Cool Ranch Doritos.
Oh, yeah.
They're delicious. But I also will get the fucking vaccine.
Yeah, if it was just like, what is the 10th secret spice in the Colonel's original recipe? Oh, that's Moderna.
Exactly. What if it's just in there? And people are like, man.
There we go. I think we're solving the pandemic right now.
How can we get the J&J into zebra cakes?
A Little Debbie, Johnson & Johnson.
Cracker Barrel sawmill gravy. / Pfizer / BioNTech. That's a great breakfast special. Yeah. So I think that's one way we could get everyone vaccinated. And, you know, we discussed it last week. I understand the hesitancy by certain folks.
Yeah.
But they're never the loud ones.
I had a conversation with a buddy of mine today who he lives in Los Angeles, but he's from Florida. Mm-hmm. And he was just there doing some work and also visiting his folks. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, there's no pandemic in Florida. Like, nobody wears masks. Nobody talks about it. Everybody's unvaccinated. And also, while he was telling me this, I typed in Florida COVID into my phone. Mm-hmm. And a CBS News headline is the first thing that came up, which was Florida records largest single day spike in COVID cases since start of pandemic.
Wow. Since last fall. I mean, think about it. That's like wave 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess that makes perfect sense why that would be the case if people are just pretending it doesn't exist while the ICUs are overflowing with unvaccinated people.
I'm going with that. Just sit for a second. It's very simple.
Yeah.
The solution is very simple. And I'll reiterate what I said last week, but not at great length and at a much lesser volume, that if I get my fall canceled on account of a combination of people who have no business making scientific decisions for the group, none at all, and also media hype. What would you call that? Like a scare tactic kind of.
Sensationalism.
Yeah, sensationalism. If that combination robs you and I of the ability to finally, like, since we have spent all spring getting ready to work basically this fall. So if we can't work this fall, like, I'm going to be like level 10 furious.
If that happens, I will strap on 6 N95 masks and then go out and find each individual unvaccinated person who isn't immunocompromised or has a note from their doctor and grab them by the shoulders and just shake vigorously for 5 to 10 minutes.
Each one.
Each one, yeah. Just shake them.
Even folks with a justified mistrust of the vaccination process.
It might just be a shorter shaking in that case. Like, instead of doing 5 to 10, I'll give them like a 1 to 2.
What if that was like a you walked up and like, dude. I feel like that conversation is like a dude.
Yeah.
But like, For the entitled, super prived Blanco Ninos that we know that are like, I think I know better. And because essential oils, because this, because whatever, because, that is like, especially people who are like friends of music. Mm-hmm. It's like, we don't, I know there's not a lot of data out there. It's only been 6 months since I've had mine. I have had no prolonged, I think I've discussed with you, like initially I got like a severe ringing in my ears, but it has subsided for the most part. And I would do it again, whatever. But I have not grown a tail. And then again, like if most people are vaccinated and most of us have tails, like
that's fine. Nobody, if everybody has a tail, nobody really has a tail.
That's right.
And if everybody walks by metal stuff and it sticks to them because they've been magnetized,
because of the microchips
or whatever, that's cool. I'll have a fork stuck to my head for
whatever. Yeah, you don't have to look for your keys anymore.
As long as I can get on stage and
they're on your forehead.
Yeah, exactly.
Shrink. But also, like, there is reticence for a reason. This vaccine has, in an unbalanced way, affected women more negatively than brochachos.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all to be considered and stuff, but also at the same time, like, you could go off the road with your car. And the amount of people who have gone off the road, quote, in their, quote, metaphorical car in COVID vaccine is way less than people who actually go off the road in their actual cars on the road every day. There's just a certain point where it needs to be, if anyone's life gets ruined by anything, that sucks every time. Every time. And it's not to be dismissed or like...
Yeah, but also check your brakes. Put on your seatbelt. Make sure your airbags are working.
Fair enough. Buy a snack so you don't have to stop. Don't answer your phone.
Don't answer your phone, But turn on your CarPlay so you can speak to your phone or don't have to look at your screen. Like anything you can do to make it safer.
The reason we should... And I believe this, so I'll just fucking say it. I don't care if you tune out of the podcast because of this. I just really don't care.
You're talking directly to me. Like if I just get up and leave the room.
I don't care if you leave, Zach. I believe that I didn't want to get the vaccine. We got the vaccine. I got the vaccine because I'd read enough about COVID, and I'm like, I don't want that, as discussed previously on the program. But also because there are people out there who can't get vaccinated, or maybe they want to wait for a second, take a knee because like data, but the anti-vaxxing, there's a difference, right? Like I feel like when I say that, the difference between people who are hesitant about getting the vaccine and the anti-vaxxers, like it's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that are like, I took this pill that my doctor prescribed and my face exploded in acne. Yeah. And they're like, now I don't trust what my doctor says because I had to deal with that for a month.
There are people who have gotten flu vaccines who have gone into anaphylactic shock. Yeah. Terrifying.
There are legit reasons, but then there are people that are just, I ain't doing that.
Yeah. Not a reason. Also not a reason. I don't want to. Another reason. Fuck Joe Biden or fuck whoever's president.
Yeah.
If my team were going like, fuck Trump, I'm not getting his vaccine, I'd be like, listen, I'm not a big fan.
I don't like him either, but
But we're all taking a vaccine that he ordered.
And again, if the doctors, the consensus of the medical field is take this, it's safe. Even if the guy I don't like is saying take this, I'm not going to not take it to spite him.
Yeah, no. Like,
it's like medical field is on board. I'm on board with him. I'll do it.
I showed you.
But I was also reading a thing today that was talking about, the freedom people. And it's like, yes, it is your choice and you do have the freedom to not do it. But you also have the freedom to swing your arms wildly and uncontrollably. But the second you hit somebody in the face, you're going to have to deal with the repercussions. It's like your freedom to swing your arms ends at the tip of my nose.
Wow.
And it's
Did you just make that up?
I did not. It was it was actually in the article.
Oh, okay.
So,
Wow.
I wish I could even credit the author, but I can't because I can't remember.
That was
But
congratulations, author of that. That's,
yes,
that's great.
exactly. Well done. But yeah, it's sort of the same thing. It's like if you don't want to get vaccinated, that's cool. Like stay inside, wear a mask if you go outside, social distance, like do your thing.
They're not going to do it. We're at the point now where like I will occasionally wear a mask. I mean, now that the Delta is like roaming around, I'll wear it more and more. And I become even more like, should I be doing this? So like when I wear a mask like in the grocery store, which like no one is, I feel one of two things. One, I'm unvaccinated. And I feel like people are like being like, why aren't you vaccinated? And I'm like in the shoes of somebody who like maybe can't get vaccinated, or more unlikely, somebody who is unvaccinated because they're not into it, but they're being responsible by masking. Yeah. I feel like that's a unicorn right there. But I do feel like the eyes, the worst of it, the worst feeling is like you're why aren't you vaccinated? And it feels like, like I just want, like I almost want to get one of those masks that's like
vaccinated.
Yeah.
But then you'll have to deal with, why are you wearing the mask if you're vaccinated? Does the vaccine not work?
Oh, I'm happy to tell those people, like not have a conversation or debate, be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
but that's also where I kind of stay at fuck you, like whatever. Don't care.
I gotta say, like over the past like month and a half or so, every time I go into a public place, I'm like, should I? Like I have this internal debate of like, should I put my mask on or is it cool? And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Same.
And over the past like month and a half, when I have put it on, I walk in there and I feel this kind of like weird stigma. Like everybody's looking at me, like you just said, like they think I'm not vaccinated. Like, but today, right before I came here, I went to buy some supplies at Target. This is not a Target sponsorship.
No, we're receiving no money from Target.
No. But I wore my mask in there, and I saw an equal amount of people wearing masks as not wearing masks, and didn't feel any like weirdness about it. I feel like the news that this is going around, and and
it's whacking people in the ass.
Exactly.
Even vaccinated people, to a degree.
To a degree, yeah.
I don't know if you saw Jeff Ross posted.
I did not see
He's coming out of 2 weeks of COVID quarantine and recovery. He's fine. He didn't go to the hospital, but he can't taste anything.
Wow.
He felt like shit. He coughed for 2 weeks straight. He's like, and he cited a bunch of other people that he knew in the LA scene that got the shit kicked out of them with the vaccine. I have a friend. You and I have a friend. No names, obviously. That is arguably one of the most unhealthy people I know. And I cannot, for the reason that I was so quick to get the vaccine, because I know what year, make, and model I am. I've got city miles on me. I know this. I'm going to get that vaccine as soon as I can. And this person is so profoundly unhealthy, and they're anti, and I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
Like with OG COVID, you were already dancing with the devil. Now this thing could wipe them out, and I don't mean to sound callous about it, because I'm also thinking like, well, even though I think I think they're being really fucking dumb, honestly, and that's something I would say to their face as well. Like, not weaponize it, but like I just don't see why you're doing that. But like I also don't want that person to get wiped out by this. I would miss them.
Yeah, the person that you're talking about, yeah, a good friend, somebody that I care about and would hate to see that happen to, but also don't even want to have that conversation with because of how anti-receptive they would be to it.
Oh, it would
wouldn't be a serious discussion. It would turn into like a barrage of jokes.
Yep. Trying to win an argument.
Yeah.
Crossing the line in between real and sarcasm.
Yeah. And the worst part is the jokes would be funny.
Yeah, they would be. Yeah. They would be. Yeah, but I don't know. Again, we're not doctors, but the doctor just said we should get vaccinated, and I was like, that sounds like a good idea to me.
Yep.
All right, enough Vax talk.
Yeah. Definitely wasn't expecting to devote that much time to it, but you know what? It's been on my mind more than most things over the past few days, weeks or so.
It's the thing that makes me angry the most.
Yeah. Agreed.
The thought of like having to cancel that which we have worked so hard to rebuild after so long of having not been able to do it. It infuriates me. But moving on, you had, do your part, people. Let's go. I'm sure anyone listening to this thing is already vaxxed up, so it's like an echo chamber.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to discuss?
Yeah, I came prepared with a few things. So I'm trying to think what to lead with now that we've used up a lot of our time here. But one of the things that I mentioned to you briefly at the show the other night was an upcoming 50th anniversary release of George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. Apparently it's going to be all remixed. It's going to be discs and discs of demos and alternate takes. So there's that, but there's another 50th anniversary coming up that I'm actually really excited about.
Okay.
And first of all, I guess I should say, obviously I'm not a copyright expert, but I believe that there is some sort of, for like rights holders or copyright holders, like with music, like if you don't release something within 50 years, it becomes part of the public domain. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these like extended box sets that have just like...
Kind of like why Sony made the Amazing Spider-Man movies right after the Spider-Man trilogy and retold the same story.
Hang on to it.
Yeah. Hang on to it.
Yeah, there was like, I don't know if you remember, like probably like 8 years ago now, there was a Beatles iTunes only release that was only for like 2 days or something like that.
No.
Where it was all like early outtakes and demos and stuff like that. They put them all on iTunes and they were only up there for like 48 hours or maybe more. I don't know. Somebody's got to Google it. But it was a very limited amount of time.
Somebody not on the staff that we don't have.
Yeah. Where's our intern?
Yeah.
Todd, can you go look into that? But yeah, I mean, that was basically like we have to release it commercially within a certain amount of time to hold on to the copyrights. But now we're getting all these expansive box sets. So there's the All Things Must Pass one coming up that so far, based on the one example that we have, I'm a little cold on what the remixes might have to offer. But psyched about the outtakes.
So I have the same feeling about this that I did with the White Album reissue, which was... the White Album remixed by Giles Martin, who has no business handling such, only by name does he have any business being.
But also discs and discs of bonus material.
Which is great to hear, like, there's like that somewhat complete version of Obla Di Obla Da.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, I like the version that we got, but like, it's also cool to hear, like, that's a really cool stab at that tune.
But the version we got was like take 70 or something like that.
Right.
And that one that you're talking about is like take 9 or something like that.
Yeah, take 9. It's like that version of the tune sounds like, oh, I know where Wings came from.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Wings song, doesn't it?
And that was a period of time where bands, like especially the Beatles, could go into the studio with a fresh song and just work it out in the studio with the tape running the entire time. Versus us, where we're like, okay, we've got 2 hours.
100%.
Let's work it out in the practice space, go in there and get 2 or 3 takes.
Yep. What a nice sounding bird.
That was nice. What a beautiful song.
Usually we get my goodness. Usually it's jets, which you heard earlier. See, we bring up a brighter topic.
And there we go. And the birds come out.
Also,
it's weird because it's nighttime, but the sun's coming up even brighter right now.
Strange.
You were saying though, like the White Album 50th.
Yeah.
Giles Martin.
And I think those mixes sound. I don't like them. They make my ears hurt immediately. They're just like too aggressively, trebly processed. Like, and I'm not one of these like, oh man, tape's the only way. Like, nope. Digital recording is amazing. And analog recording is amazing. They're both great. And you can do great things with them. But it sounds like they're trying to squeeze the Beatles into a modern box that they don't need to. Because those 2009 remasters sound excellent.
Yeah. I mean, with All Things Must Pass, there was a 2014 remaster of it. It sounds great.
Sounds great.
And it's the original mixes, yeah.
I have that on vinyl, actually.
But yeah, there's always the quotes with the new mixes where they're like, we're making it modern for today's ears.
Nope.
It's like, this album was recorded 50 years ago. Who's listening to it with today's ears?
I don't need All Things Must Pass to sound good on an iPhone speaker.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and if that's like...
I have speakers and headphones that I'll listen to my music on.
Well, I think I'm on the same page with you, and maybe we can pivot a bit because I have a thing that makes me a little mad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go to the other 50th anniversary that I'm actually looking forward to.
Yeah. Well,
go on.
It'll be just as relevant.
Okay.
After this,
Good.
Related. Man, that bird's really doing it for me.
Yeah.
Really singing my song. I was trying to give a mixed note to Jonathan Wyman. And I was like, this, like Instant Karma. I was trying to give a vibe note on the sound of an instrument. And I went to go find the mix of Instant Karma. Because the whole conversation I was having with John was, I'm all for vibe over clarity. Because John's incredible at like making things sound incredibly... You can just hear all the things. It's great. He makes space for stuff. But I kind of like... I'm a fan of the soup. And I went to go find the original mix of Instant Karma, which is no longer available, at least in my search, on Spotify. I couldn't find the OG, like, shaved fish mix of Instant Karma, the single mix. It's just the ultimate mix.
Huh.
And I find that to be very troubling.
Yeah.
You know, at least the Beatles kept the OG mixes of, or even if they got rid of the 1987 masters, which they did for CD, fine. Those weren't great anyway. I think everyone agrees it wasn't great.
Yeah,
but like,
which is weird because those are the masters that Beatles music was imprinted into my brain.
Same here. But I feel like the 2009 masters are the, unless you got like a fresh copy of whatever album from the year it came out on vinyl, next best is the 2009 masters.
Yeah.
So, yes, they remixed the White Album, but it lives in a space where it's the White Album remix and then the original is still there. I find it a little bit... And again, I might be wrong, and if I'm wrong, please email Zach at ZachJones.
I mean, if you're actually going to do it, it's ZachJonesTunes@gmail, and I would love to hear what you have to say.
You put that out there? I wasn't going to do that. I was going to give you a clownpenis.fart email address.
Nope. I would love to argue with anybody about Beatles mixes, so feel free. Hit me up.
I don't want to argue with you about it. So email
Although
Zach.
Now that I've said that, I'm like, should I have you edit that out?
Nope.
Put a beep over it?
You can CC me at Spencer.Albee at farthole.bullshit. Yeah, I just think that's like a weird, like, erasing of it reminds me of when Lucas like made it so you couldn't see the original trio. And it bothered that's dumb. Like you should. Star Wars was a groundbreaking testimony to filmmaking innovation, and its mistakes were part of the growth, and they're to be admired along the way.
I don't want to pivot totally to Star Wars, but
please do.
I am going to add one more thing to that. He did start messing with his original, like. I think maybe even the first home video release of the first Star Wars movie, like when it first hit the theater, it just said Star Wars. And I think it was the secondary film prints and the home video release is where he added Episode 4, A New Hope. and that was like in 1977 or 78 already. He was
Right.
like, here's a variation of the original release.
Well, that's also fine because like he figured out that he wanted to like, oh, this is I'm dropping the needle in the middle of the record, and then I'll give the first part and the last part or whatever. That's fine. And I don't mind that he like updated the movies and made what he perceived to be some improvements, because he did make a lot of improvements. Like when in those old days when the TIE fighters would like, roll through the sky or whatever, through space, you could see a box around it. But I think it's important to leave the original as it was, because at the time, that was as good as it. They did that the best that anybody did that. And if you watched a shitty lesser sci-fi movie, it was way worse.
Yeah. I mean, that particular process, I think, was innovated for Star Wars.
Rotoscoping.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I believe.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Might be wrong. Again, email Zach.
Yeah, exactly. Let me know. Correct. I could have just said leave it in the comments below for wherever you're on.
No one's leaving a comment.
No, it's okay. And also, nobody remembers the email address I said earlier, and they're not going to rewind. So, the same thing is also happening to the original Star Trek series. They remastered it like 10 years ago. They remastered it and updated all of the whatever establishing shots of the ship orbiting planets and stuff like that. They did all new CGI effects, and the original versions of it with like the 12-inch model or whatever it was on a string.
Yep,
you can't find anymore. Yeah,
and that pisses me off because like it robs you of context. Like when that came out, TOS Star Trek. That was the greatest sci-fi TV show ever, because it had Doctor Who had been running for maybe some years before. When did Star Trek hit?
66.
So there's 3 years prior, like Doctor Who hit, and there were science fiction programs on TV before that, but like this is the first one. Desilu like dropped money on it, and that was the best you could get at the time. And I think it's important to like have that context to remember, like, this is like these geniuses came up against a thing that didn't exist, created the mechanism to tell that story, and that's what you got. And it captivated the hearts and imaginations of hundreds of millions of people for decades. To erase, updating it, I think is that's awesome. Like, super cool. Like, Star Wars without like the extra boxes around, like the I think rotoscoping. Hopefully, I'm using that right. Those boxes around the ships moving through space. Cool, clean that up, because that didn't exist at the time. In the same way that when the Beatles remastered their catalog, the ability to make the recordings sound as good as records sounded when they came out on CD, like that didn't exist at the time. In 87, in 2009, it did, and they crushed it. And I stand by this because I did my research. When the box set came out, I imported all the files into iTunes, and of course, like at maximum quality. It's like some amount of gigabytes of information, which I will never get rid of. And I also had a really clean pressing of the Hey Jude album, which was a British release, which is kind of like a precursor to Past Masters 1 and 2, where it was singles, B-sides, going all from Hey Jude all the way back to I Saw Her. No, I Should Know Better, maybe it was the first one. Whatever it was, like it was all the singles and B-sides, which is why I know Old Brown Shoe as well as I know any Beatles song, because it was the B-side to Hey Jude. But in my world, it was the second track on the Hey Jude album.
Yeah. The Yesterday and Today album, I think, was sort of like that, too, where it was like songs that were only on singles were now compiled onto a record.
And that might have been a capital release, but I had a British pressing of it. It was beautiful print. Like, everything about it was pristine. It was perfect. Like, whoever played it before me played it once. It looked so good. And I just queued up Hey Jude. I made the like the album order, and I put the needle on the turntable. I had a nice turntable going through a controlled, I knew my system. I'm listening to them at, like the CDs weren't louder. Everything was like level matched. And dropped the needle on the record, listened through, and kept A-Bing back and forth. The old vinyl from 68 or ish. Actually, that might have come out later, but like the old vinyl and then the 2009 master. And it was like, I couldn't tell the difference. And I thought, like, yes, they did it right.
Yeah.
They made it sound on CD and or / digital listening platforms the way it was supposed to sound when it came out. And when it came out, where you listened to it was on vinyl.
That's because I feel like, I don't feel like, I know that nowadays, obviously, like if you buy a set of speakers, that pair of speakers is engineered to handle whatever music you're listening to, like a techno album that came out in 2004 or like whatever, like house album that you're listening to that came out this year that has maybe really highs or like low lows. Like those speakers are now engineered to handle that dynamic range that didn't exist in music like in 1968 or wherever.
Right. Or in consumer listening, it didn't exist.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I think when they take the original mix of Abbey Road or whatever it is that you're listening to and do a modern remaster of it, they take into consideration that you're now listening to that original mix on new speakers that can handle things that commercially the listener didn't have back then. So you can pull those. Yeah, like one of the big things about the 2009 remasters of the Beatles that hit me like initially, right off the bat, was kick drum and bass guitar.
Yes.
Even on Please Please Me.
Yes.
It's just like you couldn't hear those, even in the 80s versions of it that we have.
Nope.
And now it's like, oh, Paul and Ringo were a very tight rhythm section, and I can hear that now. But yeah, it's because they didn't compromise the integrity of the mixes, but pulled out all of these things that you can hear with modern equipment that you couldn't hear back then.
Yep.
And that makes remastering, I think, worth it versus a remix where you're just like, I'm going to make it sound like whatever album came out last year.
So I would like the Star Wars OG trilogy remastered, not remixed. Right. And certainly George Lucas, You don't see the Beatles adding in extra tracks.
It's weird because George Lucas just emailed me at the email address I gave out earlier.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
what's he have to say?
He has no comment about Star Wars.
Lots to say about the Beatles.
Really wants to talk about the Beatles.
Like, that's really weird to me that he, like, again, do what you want, add what you can when you want to. If you have the kind of money to throw at it, awesome. Do that, but please make the original version available so we can go back to that which we were imprinted on,
and watch it on our HD TVs with our 5.1 surround systems,
and appreciate what you did, which was awesome at the time and is still awesome now. And then we can choose to watch through, and of course we would. Like, if there's a new version of Return of the Jedi that came out tomorrow with, I don't know what he'd add or change, I'd watch it. Of course I'd watch it, but I want access to the original.
Yeah.
And this erasing of history is not good.
Yeah, agreed.
And then I'll go back to John Lennon and say the erasing of history is not good. And if I'm wrong, please, again, email Zach, let him know.
Pass it on to Spencer.
Yeah. And he'll pass it on to me. And then we go back to George Harrison 50th, and then you get to vault into your next bit.
Yes. So also tying into just like the dump of demos and outtakes and live stuff.
Dump.
Yeah. The Beach Boys for the past, like, I think actually right around the same time the Beatles did that iTunes only release, the Beach Boys did that as well. But now we're getting into the post-Pet Sounds era of Beach Boys albums from like the late 60s and early 70s. And it's stuff that is now finding like a cult audience, even though it didn't really sell or hit at the time. And so they've been doing it for the past like 3 or 4 years. Like, we'll get like a box set of just outtakes and demos of this era. And this year, coming out in August, is their Sunflower album and Surf's Up, which both came out in 1971. And Sunflower in particular is one of the only Beach Boys albums I don't have in my vinyl collection. And it is one of my favorite Beach Boys albums, but it didn't sell well at the time. But it was the era where Brian was basically like not completely checked out, but not reliable anymore.
Sure.
And they pretty much like burned through a lot of the material that he had written that they hadn't recorded. Like in the albums between Pet Sounds and Sunflower, like there's still plenty of Brian Wilson material for them to lean on, even when he wasn't, as productive as he had been. But by the time they hit like 71, it was like, oh shit, the rest of us need to like generate material because Brian's won't get out of bed, you know? And so Carl kind of took over the creative reins, but they were all kind of writing and they were recording in Brian's home studio. So whenever he felt like coming down and contributing, he did. But Sunflower to me is like the album that like reflects what the rest of the Beach Boys had to offer, but also with Brian he still had his sweet high pitched falsetto, but
Right.
Carl had like arrived as just one of the greatest singers to my ears, like in rock and roll.
Carl's awesome.
Yeah, and Dennis was at the top of his game as a writer
I think Carl's
too.
the best singer in the group, personally.
For sure. I believe he is. I mean, I think Carl, especially early 70s Carl, is only rivaled by like Paul McCartney as far as like non-soul singer pop singers.
Yeah. There's Stevie Wonder, and then we'll talk about everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like, when you start getting into like Aretha Franklin, it's a different conversation.
Graham Nash is in that conversation.
Yep.
In the same year.
Harry Nilsson as well.
Of course. But go on.
But yeah, so, but Sunflower, the reason it's not in my collection right now is because I don't think it sold well at the time. And as far as I know, like there weren't any like even like mid-70s or like prior to the CD release of it. I don't know if there were any other vinyl releases. Like even some of their other albums from that era I've been able to find on vinyl, but they're just like...
Wait, so Sunflower never came out on vinyl?
No, it did. But it came out in 1971 and didn't sell well.
In a limited run.
Yeah. And
so it's rare.
Exactly. So like
Gotcha.
there are other albums like I have Wild Honey.
Sailor and
and
Sailor.
like that was Holland.
Holland. I'm sorry, Holland. I like that you knew what I meant.
Yes. But I have like Wild Honey and I think it's Wild Honey in 2020 on 2 LP set that came out in like 1976 or something like that.
Oh, no, that's Friends 2020, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But it's 2 LPs, but it's reissues that came out mid-70s. Like they're not the original pressings of it. Sunflower, as far as I can tell, I can't find any like later vinyl pressings of it. I think it just didn't sell, and then it came out on CD and it's on Spotify, so like it has an audience now. But fortunately, I think second week of August, maybe the Sunflower Surf's Up sessions. I think it's called Feel Flows, which is the song that Carl wrote that is at the end credits of Almost Famous. Feel Flows. And so I think it's Feel Flows, the Sunflower Sessions, or something like that. It's 50th anniversary. Both of those albums, Sunflower and Surf's Up, remastered, plus outtakes, live stuff, and all that. And the great thing about the live stuff that I'm really looking forward to, too, is like not only is that one of my favorite albums because it was the Beach Boys as like a full unit and not just sort of like, Brian's singers and backing band, but just like if we're going to pull through, we need to do it. But they were still aiming to be a contemporary band at the time. Like they hadn't fallen back on, okay, we'll just do Surfing USA and make fans happy.
Yeah. Means they all stood up to Mike.
Yeah.
AKA the biggest asshole in rock and roll.
Exactly. And
Hell of a singer, though.
Hell of a singer. And and a pretty good lyricist too. Like underrated lyricist. Every now and then he taps into a little bit of gold, even though he might be one of the biggest assholes in rock and roll.
Underrated singer and lyricist, overrated human being.
Yeah.
Even if you call him an asshole.
But the little bit of live footage I found of them on YouTube from that era, like they've got a horn section, like they've got, like they're really trying to be a contemporary rock band and pulling it off, but it just wasn't crossing over commercially. But this box set is now going to have not only the albums remastered, but live representations of all of the songs on the album.
I love that you said remastered, not remixed.
Yeah, from what I've read, they did a couple years ago a re-release of Wild Honey that had a remix that was actually pretty good, because I don't know if it was ever intentionally stereo mixed initially.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's a new thing.
But this is just a remaster, and I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be at an affordable price with a modern representation.
I would love to have copies of... I do have Friends on vinyl, but I'd love a new copy of Friends on vinyl, because like mine is like, I got it like, the $12 price. I love that album. If they released a $25 sounds good, remastered, ready to go, issue of that, I'm on it. I'm all over it.
I think it was maybe even last year that the Friends kind of 50th anniversary collection stuff came out, but I don't know if they did a full like remaster of the album. I think it was more just, let's keep the copyrights by commercially releasing the outtakes and stuff. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know if they've done like what they're doing with Sunflower now with the complete remaster in addition to all the bonus stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I was unaware that was happening, and I don't know if anyone from Instagram is listening, but how did I not get that memo? I don't know.
Also, I should point out that it was your sister that turned me on to post Pet Sounds Beach Boys when she turned me on to Friends, because it's like one of those things like with 80s Bob Dylan, or like things where people that were around when it came out were like, oh, don't bother with it. It's not good. Don't waste your time with it. And that's what so many people told me about post Pet Sounds Beach Boys. It was like, oh, no, they dropped off. They don't have it. Don't pay attention to it. And yeah.
That's simply not true.
It turns out it's not true at all.
So my sister turned you on to post Pet Sounds Beach Boys, and I will take that and tell you that Tony Visconti turned me onto it.
Oh. And I'm sure you probably turned your sister
That's
onto
exactly
it. So
what happened. He sat me down, like the rest of the band had left the session. He's like, I want you to listen to this. And he put it on like the studio speakers. But then we've been friends now for so many years. Right?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, boom, my heart's glowing just from hearing you sing that.
Through the good times and the tears. And I just sat there with my mouth open. I was like, what the fuck? And the only way you could buy it at that point was to get Friends 2020 CD. Much in the same way when Rykodisc reissued Frank Zappa's Apostrophe and Overnight Sensation. They were both on the same disc. It was a combo. That's what you got. Because at that point, like, records were 45 minutes long. A CD can be 74. Oftentimes you get like a mashup. And I listened to those albums like incessantly. I went out and bought it, listened to it, and like I had a 1965 Plymouth Belvedere at the time, and just rolling around listening to Friends nonstop. Oh my God. Little Bird.
Oh, so good.
Boom, boom, boom. Unbelievable composition, singing, showcasing of the whole band.
Yeah, Little Bird is a Dennis song.
Yeah. And when Tony played that to me, it just because I was one of those people who was like, Beach Boys, Surfing USA, and then Pet Sounds. They made one good one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's what I was under the impression of before your sister turned me on to Friends.
Yep. I like the pedigree here. It went from Grammy Award. I assume he's got to have a Grammy at this point. I assume. Tony Visconti, producer of David Bowie and T-Rex, to lucky little me who got to be in a room with that guy because someone else paid for it. And I looked at my little sister and was like, check this out. And then you got it. Like that's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon right there.
And I also turned into one of the biggest nerds about it. And
Oh,
here we
yeah,
are in
yeah.
a room together.
Of course. Of course I did too. I adore the Beach Boys. And I don't know. People engaging in actual real-time vocal harmony, I will always have a sweet spot for that. And there's nothing better to me.
So I've been listening to a lot of Sirius radio.
Yeah, very serious, like Bill
very
Moyers.
seriously. Yes.
A lot of Nightline.
But there's the Beatles station on Sirius, which I listen to all the time. But
Sure.
for some reason, the Beach Boys Sirius station is seasonal. So
Really?
they're like, it's summertime. Tune into the Beach Boys station. I'm like, I will.
Only during the summer, though?
So far, yeah. It's
That's
a
weird.
seasonal like the Beatles station, they play a lot of alternate takes or vocal-only mixes and stuff like that. And the crazy thing, like you were talking about with the Obla Di Obla Da, like they did, a completely different version of it as a full band.
Sure.
The Beach
By many.
Boys did that, but they would do completely like full vocal arrangements, and they'd be like, no, let's try a different one. And I've been hearing some of that, and it's like, imagine practicing those arrangements to the point where you can stand around a mic, sing it together.
As a group.
Yeah. And then be like, nah,
It's
let's
not like
redo this.
Yeah, Carl's a little flat. Let's dip that out and have him recut it. No,
Yeah.
you have to recut the whole thing
Exactly.
because you performed it.
But also, let's rearrange it. Everybody learn new parts to this exact same song that we've been working on.
I mean, I feel like I don't want to like put myself in the same like playing field as the Wilson family, but like you and I can do that on the fly because we have sung together so much.
That's true. And in that band, it was 3 brothers, a cousin, and a neighborhood friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they could work on the fly, and everyone knew what everyone's strengths were. Maybe their vocal range was probably like known.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't have to dole out parts. It was just like...
Right. But also in there was probably like, oh, well, Carl can't sing like that. But then finally, in 71, Carl's like, I fucking can sing
he's like,
that.
actually, I can sing better than everybody ever.
I'm a crusher. Oh, Carl. Carl's like the like, I feel like even Dennis got his moment in the sun. Being like the tall, bearded, handsome
Yeah, I was gonna
variety.
say, yeah. It's like, you had 2 kind of awkward guys and like a supermodel.
Yeah.
As far as those 3 brothers went.
Yep. But Carl, man.
Yeah.
Carl's
that
the
voice.
business.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian.
Yeah, for
Duh.
sure. But like, obviously Brian was the creative genius and sang all those high parts early on. But like he has a very distinctive like voice. Obviously, he's like one of the voices of classic rock and roll. But it's not Carl's like just got this pure tone. Like Brian was very like nasally. Obviously, he nailed all those high notes and like he was imitated by lots of people and
Including Paul McCartney.
The
GOAT.
Yeah. I feel like Brian was actually similar to like Frankie Valli as far as like singing all those high parts.
Yep.
Very nasally, but like hooks upon hooks, like beautiful. But Carl it's just a different, I don't know. It's like a different category of singer.
No, he's straight magic.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this and you can think of 2 Beach Boys songs, and even if they are Good Vibrations, which is a great one.
Yeah. Their last #1 hit before Kokomo.
Or Kokomo was my second one. Which, you know what? In the context of the Beach Boys catalog, I'm like, fuck that. In the context of music, I'm like, Kokomo's a fucking great jam.
Yeah, I'm like, serve me up some Kokomo.
If that was on right now, I would listen to it the whole way through.
Same.
Even though I have one of the most scarring memories of my puberty associated with that song. Have I ever told you this?
No, I don't think so.
This might be a good ender.
Okay, great.
So, I got invited to the movie Cocktail.
Oh, yeah.
Came out in 87, I believe.
That sounds right.
And Kokomo was like the single. This is at the time like Power of Love, right? Back to the Future. Every Ghostbusters Ghostbusters, or I Want a New Drug, according to Huey Lewis. So Kokomo was like the theme. And that song was fucking everywhere.
It was everywhere.
Dirty Dancing. Everywhere. All the time. So Kokomo was everywhere. You couldn't escape it. It was coming out of every car that drove by you. And I didn't hate it. Because, like, it's like, oh, this is the Beach Boys? This is weird. Also, I kind of love it. Because it's, like, good harmony. It's a good hook. Like, I wouldn't mind going to Kokomo. That sounds pretty nice.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There is a story about somebody. Oh, it might even be Brian Wilson, who found out that Kokomo was not a real place.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because Kokomo was written by Mike Love and Terry Melcher, who was a frequent collaborator with the Beach Boys.
Rhymes with Felcher.
Yeah.
So I got invited to a Halloween party, a Halloween costume party. And I was like, I love fucking Halloween. At this point, like, I almost went to school for special makeup effects. That's how much I loved horror movies and Halloween.
You know, you have talked about this very story on this show, but I don't know how it ties into Kokomo. This is a new part of it.
Yeah. So I'll truncate it and say that I went to this as a huge Halloween and horror movie fan. Went to a Halloween costume party hosted by Amy Vlachos, who was like a very nice person that I liked very much, and invited a bunch of people from my school, very popular. I am 13. I'm 13-ish. Maybe 14. I was probably 13 because I was young for my age, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm born in the spring, blah, blah, blah. Get there. I went as Freddy Krueger, and I made a mask. I had the whole thing. I had the sweater. Made this shit too. Like, we weren't poor as kids, but we weren't like go to the store and buy whatever you want and make your costume awesome. Like, you had to be, necessity is the mother of invention. So I made in the shop class. I made my own claw, glove, the blade glove. Made that. Had like melty face, the sweater, the fedora. And like uncomfortable, like I think I got like polyester pants from my grandfather that he wasn't wearing anymore and made them work, thick. And I showed up and I was the only one dressed up for the Halloween costume party, aside from our host, who then, once everyone else arrived, immediately ran inside and changed into normie clothes. And so then I was the only person, and I believe like one of the only boys in a room full of, girls. And the soundtrack was Kokomo over and over again. I'm just sitting there and like I couldn't just leave because like it was like my parents were picking me up in like 3 hours. It was so awful. It's like it's the soundtrack to like my adolescent like shame. And I still like it.
Kokomo is a song that I've gone full circle with. Like, I think I was in second grade when it came out. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yep.
And then hit a point where I was like, Kokomo sucks.
Totally.
Like, that's not rock and roll.
Zero
that sucks.
cred. Zero cred.
And now I'm back to, is that Kokomo? Turn it up. Play it again.
If that was on right now, I would listen to it. Like all the way through. At full volume. Because it's a great song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
They all sound great together. They were all alive. And Brian was like wherever, but like, Mike loves a dick. It soundtracked my pube shame. And I still like it. I don't care. It's a song so good that it blows past all those hurdles, and I love it.
Yeah, it was their last number one hit, and at the time, their first number one hit in 20 years.
Well, I think we should wrap it up, even though I will say that I had a really juicy topic to talk about, which is that, have you heard about that new file that was just released from the Pentagon about the moon landing?
No.
And how it's like Kubrick actually was involved in the filming.
Okay.
You didn't read this?
No.
All right. Well, tune in next week. Thanks for.
I can't wait. I'm pre-saving next week's episode right now so I can hear it.
SAZETU is brought to you by Maine Spirits. Learn more about the spirits they bring into the state of Maine at mainspirits.com and what to do with them by downloading their app for your smartphone or visit them on Instagram at Maine_spirits. Promotional consideration provided by State Theater Portland. Learn more at statetheaterportland.com and Sun Tiki Studios. Learn more at suntikistudios.com.